Our story starts in an office building. We see our main lead checking in through the security. She's always the first one in the office in the morning. She always starts her morning with a coffee before she starts her daily tasks. Suddenly, she has a colleague call her out to follow her. Here, the colleague uses a term that means newlywed, but are mainly correct her. She's single. She has no husband, no full-time job, and no lover. She quickly rushes to catch up with her colleague to catch the same elevator here. We learn that she's failed her civil servant exams 5 years in a row. This is why she's working a part-time cleaning job at the moment. We go back to the moment where she's interviewing for this cleaning position. And the interviewer was very nice and even joked with her by the end of the interview. Shai had decided this was the job she was going to take in the meantime. We then go to her third day at work when she's a little bit late and she runs into all of her colleagues getting ready. They are all a lot older than her. She's only 30, and the most senior cleaning lady is nearly 60. The most senior cleaning lady tells her to clean the way she has taught her for the last 2 days. She has to clean floor 13 and 14. It's then the other ladies tell her the company that occupies floor 14, it's a game company and they're very dirty. They are the enemy of all cleaners. She gets changed and goes up to floor 14. She now understands the manager's words on why this floor is the worst enemy. She feels all of her energy being drained. She smells something utterly disgusting. As she starts in the toilet, it's horrendous rubbish and tissues everywhere. They even forget to flush the toilets. After a lot of hard work and energy, she put all of her anger into it. But it's finally clean. Then a worker walks in, uses the urinal, and already dirties the place with his hair. She's angry. She doesn't want him to spoil her perfectly clean room. Then she moves on to the kitchen area. She sees food everywhere, a sink full of dirty dishes. Nothing has been cleaned up and someone sleeping on the sofa hugging a pillow with a girl printed on it. She's disgusted. These people they stay in the office all night. These people are truly geeks. She thinks to herself in the past, she envied a colleague who bragged about dating the CEO of a popular game company. She now realizes there's nothing to envy, and gaming companies equals filthy geekdan. Her anger commences and she continues to clean again. She's completely exhausted as she brings all the rubbish down from floor 14. She crosses a colleague who asked her if she's not even managed to go to the next floor yet. Even though her shift is nearly over, she's determined to finish, but a colleague thinks she's overdoing it. After a lot of energy and time, she finally finishes cleaning everything she tends to the zone. She hasn't cleaned the sofa with Guy is sleeping on it. She put her gloves down for a moment, but they fall off the sofa and place himself in an awkward spot on the man that's sleeping on the sofa. She goes to grab the glove, and just at that moment, that man's alarm on his phone goes off. He turns and wakes up and sees the cleaning lady grabbing down near his crown jewels. She quickly grabs the glove and runs away. She was really scared. She finishes at work, gets changed, and begins to leave the building. She sinks down in the elevator. She's humiliated. What on earth did she do as she gets the first floor ready to leave? She suddenly flinches. She sees the man from the sofa. He's run all the way down. He has a question. As soon as she sees the guy, all she can think is, why did he follow me? Did he notice what I did earlier? She asked if she can be of service. He's looking for the woman who cleaned floor 14. Humiliated, she pretends not to know who cleaned and runs away. She can't put up with this anymore. She goes to a local food stand and buys a sweet treat on the way. She sees her mother talking to some of her friends. She was going to call to her, but her mom signals to her not to say hi and keep going on her way. But before she managed to slip away, one of the other ladies notice her, then start to grill Nanhee's mom on if she passed the exam, if she has a job, and if she's getting married. Her mother is completely ashamed of her daughter after 6 years graduating from some nameless university and not even getting a job. She doesn't want to talk to her friends about this. Her mom then starts arguing at the dinner table with her if she's sure she'll pass the exam this year. Her father then tries to stop the argument, saying it will cause a stomachache as her parents continue to argue. She stands up from the table and claims she's done eating her mom, then tells her that she's put her study money on her desk. But then he says her mom doesn't have to pay for it anymore, as her part-time job will pay for it. She feels embarrassed that she's still getting an allowance at this age. She always feels less stressed after she's cleaned. She looks down at her civil servant books and she thinks back to how she felt at the beginning of the year. She's 30. She didn't accomplish anything. She can't even date because studying life doesn't end because you're 30, but being jobless at 30, she thinks she'll just give up if she doesn't pass this year. Thinking back to this fuels her on and she begins studying. Then we go to the next day. Her colleagues tell her she might be fired as the people on floor 14 made a fuss about a box she threw out. Apparently there was a toy inside that was valuable. She's confused. She's sure she checked all the boxes, and there wasn't anything inside. The people from floor 14 even checked all the bins, but they couldn't find it. She then goes up the floor 14 to find the development director, just to realize it's the same man she ran away from yesterday. She begins the conversation with him awkwardly asking what he's lost. He confirms that he definitely lost something, Nan. He is determined to replace it, but he replies that it's out of her price range and just looks at him blankly, then blurts out that she'll pay for a half of it. It's just a doll. How much could it be? The director then starts laughing. It's a limited edition figure. And the successful bid was over 10 million inside her soul leaves. Her no-way adult could cost that much. Thinking she's misheard, she asked him to confirm that 10 million wasn't the amount of money and it was a joke. He says money is money, but he can never buy that again. It was one of a kind. He mumbles as he walks away. She's so startled, how could a doll cost that much? He doesn't even look like someone that could afford something of that price. She's feeling very suspicious of him. Does he have some sort of receipt? He then flicks the receipt into her face. She can't believe it for real. Why would he spend this kind of money on something like that? He just answers back casually that you can't put value on something like this. She's so frustrated she can't believe she threw 10 million away into the bin, and it was someone else's money. The director simply says for her to go back to work as he has a meeting soon. She claims she won't be able to sleep knowing she threw that much away. He then goes back to saying that maybe she should pay for half of it. But she then takes his hand and says, how could she ever compensate him in money for something so precious? She then claims that he is responsible for not taking good care of it. And she says instead, she'll clean even harder from now. Anywhere needed, she'll clean the toilets, the air conditioning, even his house. He pauses. Did she say my house, confirming he brings her up to the 20th floor, thinking to herself she didn't mean this second as he put in the code to his door. He claimed it's going to be a bit messy as he moved in not too long ago. She's shocked this man lives in the penthouse of the building, but thinking how he slept on the sofa and was dirty. She can't imagine what the house looks like. She is stunned, clothes and rubbish everywhere. He casually walked into his house saying that he'd actually been thinking about getting a cleaning service to deal with this for him. But since Shai offered, he'll take her up on the service. She's not sure this is a home or a pig pen, readjusting his glasses. He looks back at her and asks if she's changed her mind. He just says that she has to roughly organize and definitely don't touch his room. He needs to find his razor and cell phone. They should be somewhere he's not very picky, so he'll leave it up to her on how to clean it. But remember to be a bit more cautious this time and not throw away anything the CCTV, so she shouldn't go in his room. By the time he finishes talking, he looks back at the front door and she's gone. She's already back in the elevator, thinking to herself, he's disgusting, she hates it. Panting, she brings all of her cleaning stuff back up to the 20th floor. He thought she'd left. She says simply that she went down to the basement to get some supplies. Shai then asks him what he wants done. He simply replies he didn't want something that fancy, but she claims for his mistake. She should do this work. She then asked him to clarify where to start, but he just tells her simply to do a rough job just cleaning up the trash and go, and definitely do not go in his room, thinking to himself as he leaves. He forgot she was strange. Should he really leave her in his house all alone? In her 30 years, she's never been in a strange man's place all alone. It feels weird. She's never even cleaned a boyfriend's place. She's now on a mat. Home of a man she hardly knows. She begins cleaning and thinking back to how she could possibly throw something so expensive away. But this motivates her. She's going to do her best. She's going to do a job worth 10 million. She's all done. Cleaning that bed floor, it's not much, but Shai found his razor. She's confused. Why all of these things are out in his living room and not tidied up in his bedroom? She looks at the pile of clothes and can hear something ringing. Oh, it's his phone is ringing. She picks it up instinctively. She thought it would be him calling to check in on her. She rises the other person on the phone as a girl and tells her that he's not home right now, but she should call the office as she tries to hang up. The other person screams, "Wait," and asks her if she's at the director's house and what her relationship is with the director. She's offended. What relationship? She's a nobody. She just came here to clean for a little bit. The other person says, "What cleaning lady picks up the phone?" She's confused, and then she hears the door opening. She turns around to see the director at the front door. She's in a bad position again. Is she in trouble? He walks back in. He thinks he left his wallet and just says, "Oh, you found my phone. Did you find my razor as well?" Shy stand, as soon as he walks in, he chucks his shoes and throws trash on the floor. She doesn't reply to him. She's thinking that's true. What cleaning lady answers the phone as he goes to grab his phone from her hands? She then asked him if he has a girlfriend. He's so surprised by this question. He thinks she's weird and suspicious, so he claims that she's probably done with her work and she can leave, but she wants to explain to him that she picked up the phone and there was a girl on the other side, but the phone begins to ring again, then pick it up. The girl's on the other side of the phone. She asks where is the girl who answered the phone before he can hardly hear anything as she's hoovering in the background. The doorbell then goes. It's the girl. She's at the front door. The girl then starts arguing with him through the door camera. She's sure the girl's still inside the girl that lied about cleaning his place. She wants to know their relationship. He then turns back to her and asks if she picked up his phone. She was trying to explain the misunderstanding, but the girl on the other side of the door begins, screaming and knocking, claiming she won't bite, and there is no reason to avoid her. If there's nothing going on between the two of them, she's scared. Is this woman dangerous? Then explains to her not to ask why. But once he opens the door, he'll hold her. She has to run. He begins counting, and she panics and runs deeper into his house. He meant run out of the house, not in, but she runs into his room. She's stunned. This place doesn't even have a speck of dust full of little toys. It's so clean and perfect, unlike outside. She's so amazed he's got a toy shop in his house. He runs in after her. Screaming, pushing her away, and wiping down the fingerprints, he screams at her, "What are you doing here?" She just claims you told me to run and explains to run outside. She said she can't go. There's a scary person in that moment. She feels faint and fall to the floor. They ask her if she's okay, but she's just simply hungry. She's so happy she's not eaten anything since morning. At the table, they're all eating chicken, and the lady that recently came in asked him how he could work someone that hasn't eaten since dawn, but he didn't think about it. He thought she would eat and apologizes. The lady then looks back at them. There really is no relationship between you two. You just are cleaning. The director is shocked. Are you starting this up again? What in the world is there to be suspicious about? And she says it was a natural conclusion for someone answering someone else's phone in someone else's house. She then looks over to Nan, and also, if she's married, she doesn't have a ring on her finger. The director just asked her to stop bothering people and not to get the cleaning staff involved. He begins to drag her out. And it's at this point we find out the lady that's coming is his older sister, Nan. He is confused. Why wouldn't all the sister read the house like she caught a cheating partner? But she climbs. It's the only way she can know about him, having a girlfriend, because he'll never tell them. And he explains it's because they will force him to get married, because that's all their mom wants is for him to get married. He and his sister, if she doesn't leave him alone and doesn't stop bothering him, he'll go abroad. She then claims that if she doesn't step in and help, he'll never get married. He's only surrounded by men. He then gets angry and says his 3 older sisters aren't married, so that's why Mother has become obsessed with marriage. Besides, the main culprit is the 42-year-old sister who is yet to get married. They then start fighting, choking each Nan. He thinks they really are siblings. She just watches the can roll on the floor that he dropped. The sister then goes back to the reason why she originally called it was to tell that Mrs. Jang was arriving. They only have an hour left. They must get ready. He's flustered. He tries to find his suit. She's confused. She's got 1 hour to clean this place. She doesn't clean it perfectly. She hides a lot in places that won't be seen. She did all she could in 1 hour trudging away from the house. She runs into a man in a blue suit. She drops her bottles. He asked if she's okay. Looking at this young gentleman in front of her, she thinks she's found a prince in her 30 years of life. Finally, she found him. She has the bells ringing around her. The man then passes her back the bottle that she dropped, but she dropped it again on her foot. Then he opens the elevator for her and thanks her for her work as soon as the elevator closes. She looks at herself in the mirror and is shocked that she looked like this back home. She put pain patches on and just thinks she ran into the most wonderful man in the world in an absolutely disgusting state. And realistically, she has no position to be looking for a man right now. She needs to get a job, not a cleaning job. She needs to begin studying. But she thinks back. Towit, did that man go inside the director's place, or did she see wrong? She was amazed by him. He was dreamy. She slaps herself back into reality men. For later in life, after you pass the test next day at the office, she's tired. She looks over to the kitchen with the sofa. He didn't stay up last night. She looks at the desk. There are some trophies for the director, Dokuho. He's talented. But this doesn't matter. He's so messy. And she begins to clean up everything again. As she's pouring out the rubbish, she finds a wallet. She looks inside to find a picture of the man she saw yesterday in the suit. It's his wallet. She thought she'd never meet him again. Then suddenly Dokuho asks her what she's doing. She's scared by this and drops the wallet. She's just confirming she found it in the trash, and she was wondering if he was really checking it away. He confirms the wallet was old. He was throwing away but forgot the picture was inside. She then asked him if the picture was very valuable, and he confirms it was a picture from last year, when he volunteered in Africa with some colleagues. He then trips over and drops his mug and toothbrush as he goes to pick it up. He farts in her face and apologizes. He's a bit constipated, but believes this is a welcome sign. She's disgusted and sticks her head out of the window. Then, wearing a mask, she continues to clean. An old lady is knocking at the door. She's confused. She opens it up. She asked if she can help her. She says she needs an access card to get in, but the old lady claims her son works here. She looks around and claims that Hassan will never be healthy if he eats all this rubbish. The old lady looks back and asks that she hasn't been here very long, but she also started by cleaning buildings, so continue working hard. And if she works hard, good times will come. The old lady then goes over and starts touching the figurines and the toys. But Nan, he stops her and says that the sea owner, the director, really doesn't like when his thing's attached. And she even says that she accidentally threw away one of his toys that was 10 million and to try help the old lady out. She tells her not to touch things, so she doesn't end up in the same situation as her. The director then appears. He knows the old lady. Nanhee is shocked. How do they know each other? He's stunned, and he drops the toilet paper he is holding. When did she manage to come in? He says he waited all day for her yesterday, so why is she here now? Mrs. Jang is mad at how badly he has kept himself, but he argues that she was meant to come yesterday when she said she would be arriving. He was ready for her yesterday. Mrs. Jang turns to Nanhee and asks to lead the way to the toy shop that is hidden inside his house. She regrets telling her about this. They all go upstairs to his apartment, and she spots some of his toys on display and argues these are the only ones he owes. She begins to tell him that they are both kneeling in front of her in the living room. As the director moves, the picture falls out of his pocket. Nanhee picks it up and looks at it. Nanhee's legs are going numb, and she picks herself up off the floor and begins leaving as she doesn't think she should be part of this conversation. But before she can get out the door, the woman says, "If you know no ladies, then what about her pointing back to Nanhee?" The director just explains that she's a middle-aged woman and not a miss. Nanhee gets annoyed and corrects him. She is a miss. The mother then begins interrogating her about her family and whether her parents' jobs are secure. The director tries to stop this, but even though she's single, it's not to his taste, so he leaves her alone. The director gets annoyed and tries pushing his mom out of his house before she can leave. She still shouts back at her son to dress well for all the dates and asks if the cleaning lady is just a cleaning lady and if there's nothing more there. The director continues to push her out the door, saying, I know, and closes the door. Nanhee grows him, saying she also doesn't care if he's married or single. but her phone then pings it's a game request. He asked if she plays the game. She said no. She just downloaded it because of a friend. She doesn't play those silly games as she runs away from his building. She is speechless. He's messy, sleeps, hugging pillows with anime girls printed on them farts. She also can't imagine herself being a daughter-in-law candidate. She then receives a text from her mom asking her to pick up some things on her way home. She's in the supermarket. She sees couples being all lovey-dovey and giggling at each other. She makes at-home calls out for her mom, but there's no reply and starts drinking a bit of alcohol, then sees the two cats posing with the tails in a love heart. She's jealous. She also wants to go on dates, too. She wants to go with her boyfriend. Her mother then walked into the house and asked what she was doing right now, and if she was drinking the alcohol, she told her to buy it. Then we see the director's mom with his older sister going to get coffee. Sister asked if she met the cleaning lady, but the mom says she's making a fuss out of nothing, but that she is right. She is single, and she preparing for her civil servant exam and working part-time. She made a good impression, and she's simple and hard-working, and she's going to add her to the candidate list. They can't lose her. It's been such a long time since a woman was around. The mother looks at the older daughter and tells her to remember that the clause for her investment was that her brother would get married within the year, so not to forget the promise. After all, a deal is a deal. Nanny feels shivers and goosebumps when someone talks about her. She then looks at the picture again of her prince and puts it by the side, and this motivates her to keep studying her, then burst into the room asking for her to send her stars. "Hi, Mom. What she's doing?" She says nothing, and just to leave her alone, but her mom is sure she's hiding something since earlier. She says she's not. She's just depressed. Her phone then goes off. Her mom asks if she's playing the game too, and she says no, she doesn't. She knows she doesn't like those games. She just downloaded it to send her mother stars. But her mother simply says that the whole is playing the game, and she won't tell her off if she relaxes by playing a game from time to time. And this is a better attitude than drinking in the middle of the day. She looks like she has no friends to play the game with. It's been 6 years she's unemployed. She cut all contact with her friends. She recognizes the name of the company that makes this game is the one she cleans, for we go back to the director who is still in the office. It's already past 5 a.m. He's complaining his joints hurt. Both colleagues need to wash and wipe themselves up. They begin discussing the game while they get ready for the morning. How many downloads did they get last year? 25 million, nearly the whole nation was playing the other colleagues. Why the director is asking this? He was just bothered a little bit, is then it's revealed he takes off his glasses, he washes his face, the director is Prince Charming, his colleague is starstruck. Colleagues start flattering, but the director just complains that he needs to take a shower. His hair is greasy. The colleague is so shocked that he starts to wash out his eyes. Nan comes into work again, realizing that she failed to realize that she's cleaning for the company for the game that everyone is obsessed with, and realizes that he is a successful geek, and the top 3 mobile games are made by this company. She Googled them, she's done. Startled as the director walk out of the conference room. She said they hadn't met this early in the morning. What the workers passed her a coffee, thanking her for her work and telling her to keep up. Then the director suddenly called her over. He passed us something. It was a game coupon. It'll give her 100 game rubies. Then starts explaining that it's a new project that's starting and you have to download and enter the coupon code within the time period to redeem them as he walks away. She's confused. Why did he give this to her as the director begins to leave a colleague, wishes him luck on his blind date? And suddenly, her phone begins to ring, asking her if she's done with the 14th floor, and something about the boss orders then goes back to their director, who's had his first shower in a week. He feels refreshed. He's exhausted. He wants to just sleep for a bit, and he's been awake for 24 hours as he walks out of the bathroom. He realized he just took his clothes off and chucked them on the floor. Then he walks in, claiming she found his clothes. We go back in time a little bit to where she goes to the boss, and there he explains that she is in charge of cleaning. The penthouse is on the floor. 20 is the place of the director explains it will be easy as she just has to do the cleaning and washing, and it will be much easier than an office as there won't be too much work to do. She's confused. How does she keep getting involved with this house? As she walks in through the front door, she sees a trail of his clothes. She begins following them and picking them up. The clothes seem to lead her to the bathroom. Just then the door swings open, the director, then says, "Where are my clothes?" turns around to see her holding off his clothes. She screams as he turns around and is short. He trips over something. She's concerned for him. There was a loud sound as he fell. She asked if he was decent enough so she could turn around as she saw him. She wonders if he's dead. He says he's alive. But what is she doing here? She apologizes but receives orders from the bods to start here. She didn't realize he would be naked. Should he not be allowed to be naked in his own house? He's badly injured. So they take him to the emergency room. She makes a huge fuss, but he thinks he's just sprained his wrist. She asked him if he was hurt anywhere else. He said no, and she didn't need to come with him, but she needed to write down his name on the form. He's getting very uncomfortable while she's staring at him. She asked for his social security number and then his name, he says. Oh, Dokeho, she is stunned. She looks back at him. The director is then in a cast and a sling. He's not allowed to move his arm for 2 weeks. He's damaged his ligament. It's his right arm. He's doomed. Nanhee is thinking to herself, he's the director, the same person. She can't believe it's a lie. How could he be the same person he walks out of the treatment room? This is an ill-fated relationship. She was crazy about how she acted to him before he called her over. He told her that he'd ask his mother so she doesn't have to come to clean his house anymore. She just tells him he looks better without glasses and that he looks handsome. This makes him uncomfortable, and calmly he closes the door. He's confused. Is she trying to kill him or flirt with him? She walks back into the apartment, saying her phone and apron are still here, so she begins to walk. She says she'll look after him for the next 2 weeks and says his cast is off his, firmly against this. He doesn't need help. He was going to take some time off work. Then his mother begins to call. She's heard that he's hurt himself. She hopes he's not faking it to get out of blind dates, and as he's not faking it, she's going to stay around his house to help him for the next few days trying to get out of the situation. He claims he has someone to take care of him for the next few days, so she doesn't have to come to the mother, then us, who he then glances over to Nanhee. He then asked her to work until 6 p.m. until his car was still off. He looks desperate. She's in bed now, slightly blushing. She's so nervous she can hardly sleep. She can't stop thinking about him. Does he work out a bit? He had solid muscles and firmness, but from behind, her face is gone completely red. What is she doing? Why is she thinking about him like that? She doesn't want to recall it. It's 10 a.m. She goes to wake him up. He's startled. He's confused why she's here, but he has to eat breakfast and take his medicine, so she just tells him to hurry up and wash up. He's so surprised she's disgusted. How did he become a troll again overnight? He had a bugger and spit stains. She must have gone nuts yesterday. Shai made him a good breakfast and gave him a spoon and fork since it will be easier than chopsticks. She didn't prepare much, but told them to enjoy the meal. The director just thinks it's been a while since he had a home-cooked meal. She's so sad. She can't believe he came out of his room without even showering. How could the prince be him? She then asked him about his facial hair and how it grows back so quickly, and he says if he shaves it in the morning, it'll be back by afternoon. He's pretty hairy. This makes her think of something else, and she goes very silent. She'd been awesome if he couldn't wash because of his hand, but he claimed he's not going to wash until he needs to go out, and that would be when he gets his cast off. She wants to kill him, but then she gets a text from her mom to send her stars right now. She looks over her shoulder, asking if her mom is playing the game. She doesn't freak out and asks him not to touch her. He asked not to be treated like this. She wants to avoid him because he's dirty, but she can't say that he says he just gets interested every time he sees someone playing his company game. He had no malicious intent. He then asked why she doesn't play. She's confused. Why? This all of a sudden... He never repeats himself. Why don't you play the game? Has 25 million downloads in this country alone. You can say that everyone plays this game. She just replies. She doesn't have much interest in it, and he shouldn't get worked up over her not playing it. He then replies that it bothers him. She's the only one around him that doesn't play the game. She then begins to chuckle, saying he's being childish. She's the first one to play the game that he made. She tries to make a joke about K-dramas, but he then says he doesn't watch them. This kills the conversation, and she goes back to doing the laundry before she can go ask if she used the coupon he gave her. He then asked her to try it. Once as a masterpiece that his company worked on, she then passed her phone to him and said to download it and asked if he had some sort of disease where he wouldn't be satisfied until everyone played his game. He claims it's not that, but she says she might get bored and stop halfway through, and he claims she could get addicted. She says no way will happen. She begins to work again, doing the laundry and thinking back to him this morning. He's a natural-born geek, just look at his underwear. He walked back into the room, saying that she left her phone and passing it back to her. It's then that she's holding his underwear. He snatches it back from her and tells her she'll do his underwear from now. She tries to get it back, but he says it's embarrassing for a strange woman to do his underwear. He asks why this is weird or any different to any of the housekeeping, and he says because she's young and unmarried, but she then claims she's done her brother's and her dad's many times. It's nothing to her, so just gives it back, then begins to fight about it. Snatching it back and forth, he hides up behind his back, and then she tries to grab it, but in the process grabs him. At that moment, she realizes what she's done. She apologizes. She was trying to just grab the underwear. She walks backwards without looking and then stumbles into the laundry basket. He tries to help her but stumbles, and they both fall in together. His face lands in her chest. He realizes it's a soothing sensation. As soon as what happened, she screams. To get him to go away and out of her chest, she kicks him in the face and screams at him to get out. He runs out with his nose bleeding, not understanding what just happened right now. He starts blushing. He liked that he was having a 19-plus emergency, so he put himself into a cold shower to extinguish the fire. We go back to Nanhee. She's also contemplating what just happened. She kicked him out, but she grabbed his butt first. She starts thinking about it. It was nice shaking her out of it. She realizes she can't think about this, and it's a crime. He goes to the laundry door, knocks on it gently, and says that she hasn't budged in 3 hours. He then tells her if she's got a complaint, they need to talk about it. He begins to apologize and say it was a misunderstanding and that she should apologize as she kicked an injured person. Suddenly, the door swings open, her eyes big and sparkling. She says this is fun, looking down at her phone. She says she began to play the game. He forced her to download. She is stuck on the 12th quest. How does she solve it? He was shocked that the whole time she was playing the game, he began to sparkle. She apologizes. She didn't realize it had already been 3 hours. She didn't even finish the laundry. He doesn't care to forget about laundry. He wants to talk about the game. She says it's her first time playing this kind of game. He says he'll help her, but first, he'll add her as a friend on the game, as you need a friend to help you through this quest. He smells so good. She just wants to lick him and snaps out of it as he passes the phone back to her. She's so shocked when she sees his character. He guesses it's really her first time with these games. So happy about what she has to do now. He's her first friend and first visitor. He starts chuckling. He feels really rewarded as a developer. He's never seen this reaction before. Without thinking, she compliments his laughing face because I'm pretty. She snaps out of it quickly and then says that the hot chocolate will get cold if they keep playing the game, so they should drink it before it gets colder. He then chugs the cocoa. It's so hot that he spits it back out all over her, then looks back at her. He asked if she was okay, and if she was burnt. She said she was fine. She was not burned. It was nearly cool. Anyway, he goes to try to help her, but moves away before he touches her. She then brings out some ice and tells them to put it in his mouth to cool it down. He apologizes again. She's going to wash her clothes and dry them, as she'll have enough time to do all the cleaning before she leaves. She'll use the guest bathroom. He has 2 sets of clothes so that she can wear them. In the meantime, chucked away. The anime jumper turns on the shower and screams, it's cold. But then go back to the director. He's on the phone buying something for a girl. He thinks one size would be better. He doesn't know what style she would like, so anything is good. The doorbell begins to ring. All his colleagues are at his front door. They come to see how he's feeling. He's confused why they're all there. He realizes they're all there to see if he's got a woman around his house as he asks to pick up women's clothes and scolds them. They came up to his house to ask something silly like that. She's out of the shower now, asking if something is wrong. He turns around to see her. He is stunned. She explains that the doorbell was really loud as she approaches closer. The colleagues on the other side then begin to talk. They are shocked their boss has a female in his house. He then tries to mute the doorbell. She asks if he was expecting guests today, but he says they are just solicitors. She then asks if she should call security as they are being noise, but he says if they ignore them, then will leave. She then goes on to explain that only cold water was coming out of his shower. Maybe his bolier is broken. He then explains that he took a cold shower earlier. She is confused. Why do you take cold showers in the winter? He begins to blush, then tries to explain that sometimes healthy men need to take cold showers to cool off. But she doesn't get it and continues to interrogate him. He gets more flushed as she continues to get closer and ask more questions. She then notices he is sweating again, but he says to her, if she gets any closer, he will need a clogged shower again. She slowly retreats, but still doesn't understand. Then suddenly we hear the doorbell screen talking again. They say they understand him. They then begin to explain the reason for cold showers. The director desperately tried to turn them off, and then Nanhee notices they are calling him boss. He skips over, he questions and says they should order in lunch. Is chicken okay? We then move to the table where Nanhee is eating alone, and Daeoko is staring at his iPad. She asks him if he doesn't want to eat, but he needs to finish his work first. He just needs to check his emails. His answers are very short and cold. Nanhee misunderstands his and thinks he took a cold shower to cool off his anger as she had make his mad earlier. She thinks to herself she doesn't even want to make eye contact with her, and when he does, he frowns. He must be really pissed with her. Her hair fall into her face, annoying her. She tries to push it out of her face. He stops his work and looks up at her and asks why she let her hair down. He can't concentrate, she is driving him crazy. She misinterpreted this again and see this as him teasing her for being messy. He stands up and gets closer to ask if this looks like he's teasing her. She begins to blush as he pushes her hair back behind her ear. She looks at him wide-eyed. Why is he touching my hair? He grasps a chunk of her hair in his hands, gently moving it closer to his lips. He then pulled himself in for a closer embrace. She then begins to speak. This startles him, and he moves back to the other side of the table. He's shocked. What did he do just now? We then move on to the evening. She's in bed. She can't sleep. All she can hear is the clock ticking. She sits herself up, she thinks back to the day and begins to blush. You're driving me crazy. She's heard these words before, but they had a completely different meaning when they were coming from her mom's. Mouth is the first time she's heard this coming from a man. She thinks to herself, even in K-dramas, the male leads don't smell the girl's hair like that. She really doesn't understand what happened today. It would have been nice if she had some dating experience. We then move on to the director's bedroom, another person who is having a sleepless night. He has 33 years of pent-up frustration, and this is what it looks like. He's so embarrassed, he thinks he's going to shrink and disappear. He then has a ding from his iPad, and the notification says that his friend has completed their job on the game. We then go back to Nanhee. She is playing the game to take her mind off of what happened today. She sees a new challenge and then sees she got a request from her friend, realizing what this means. She chucked her phone. She's shocked. Why isn't he sleeping? She feels like he's in the room with her too. He then has another ding from his iPad. She accepted he feels so much attention. He knows this is his company's game, but has always been like this. He then begins to send her tips to help us through the next challenge. She thinks herself, is he writing all of this one-handed? But he's writing so quick that she can't even keep up with it. She thinks, is this his way of talking? She then texts her number to him. She wants to do it her way. Will he call? Blushing, she's holding her phone. Will he call her? He's looking blankly at his iPad. He doesn't know what to do. As the time passes, she loses hope. 30 minutes has gone, and he's not calling. She gets out of bed, staggering to the bathroom. She looks of the self in the mirror. Is this what normally happens? She can't believe it. She's so embarrassed, truly humiliated. She doesn't even understand why she brought her phone in the bathroom with her. What's she waiting for? She hits her phone and accidentally falls into the toilet. At this moment, we see he's trying to call her, but the phone doesn't connect. He starts sweating. Is there some sort of message? Is it because of what happened today? Then he starts imagining her in his room. He's shocked as his imagination goes wild. He can smell her. She gets closer, they're about to kiss, and suddenly he wakes up, lifting up his blanket. He thinks himself, long time no see. He then thinks back to his dream. What is this? He dreamt of a real female. She quietly walks through to his apartment. She's running a little late, but it's silent. He's not awake yet. She goes to gently knock on his door to tell him that lunch is ready. As she goes into the room, she sees it's empty. The bed is made. No one is there. She then leaves. What is going on today? She gave her number. He didn't call. Then she dropped her phone and broke it this morning. She rushed to get it fixed, but she didn't sleep at all because of all this. She thinks he doesn't even care. He just left. Maybe he's purposefully avoiding her as he feels pressured that she gave her number. She's spiraling in her thoughts, elevator sounds. She's on the 14th floor. The doors open. He's there. They lock eyes. A little embarrassed, they stare at each other. Then he blocks everyone else and he goes into the elevator with her. He closes the doors and now they're all alone in the elevator. He presses a button and looks back at her, calling her name. We go back to moments before the elevator arrived. The colleagues are apologizing for making him come down while he's on sick leave, but they needed his help immediately. They're asking if he's going to stay for lunch, but he says he wants to go upstairs to eat. We then go back to the moment before she's there in the elevator. He gets in alone with her and tells his colleagues to take the next one. He calls her name and asked if she is leaving already. She says he wasn't there, and she cleaned and prepared his meal. He then began to explain himself that something urgent came up this morning at work. She understands he left because of work. He tells her she doesn't have to go, but she's so tired. And if she's finished all of her work for today, and if he doesn't need anything in particular, she just wants to go. He says he understands, but he wanted to tell us something, but her phone was turned off, but she can go home. She's confused. He called her. He confirms he tried to call her. She then screams at him, but she accidentally dropped her phone in the toilet. She says this is so loud that it hurts his ears. She asked him not to misunderstand. They then hit the 9th floor. The doors open and other people start to come into the elevator. They're moving a big plank of wood, and it feels like the whole elevator, they are crushed together in the corner. She begins to blush. She's confused. Why is a heart fluttering? He's not even in Prince mode. He looks like a geek right now. She looks down at his arms and starts to blush. Everything about him is sexy, from his veins to his Adam apple. There's nowhere to look, both blushing and very close to each other. They don't know what to do with themselves. Then finally, they make it to the 1st floor. The other people carrying the plank of wood take it out carefully, then looking away from each other. This lonely part, they can't look at each other in the eyes. She then begins to speak with you. Cut her off. Does she want to get some lunch together? He then corrects him. He remembers she's tired. Maybe she just wants to go. But she cuts him off, and she presses the 20th floor. They then go up and have lunch. He then begins to tell her the thing he wanted to say last night. He's talking about the game, explaining everything. She's a little angry. This is what he had to tell her last night. Seriously, he was going to call her last night to talk about a game. He's confused. Yesterday, he was texting her tips, and then she sent it. Her phone number wasn't that what she wanted now. He'll continue explaining, but she needs a big bowl of coffee. Speaking of coffee, he got her a new set of clothes because he ruined hers yesterday. He gives her the bag. She stares into the bag. Really, he wants her to wear this. We see a pretty little maid's dress. We go back to how this is not the lunch she imagined. He then goes on and on about the game for about 1 hour. He's totally focused. She's thinking back to that moment in the elevator where, with his shaggy hair and unshaven face, she still finds him attractive. She's not concentrating. A question. She's caught off guard. She's angry. She needs a big bowl of coffee right now. What kind of man is he? He only thinks about games. As she walks away, he begins to blush. He can't do that. He's too distracted. He's so nervous, he's just rambling at this point. He thinks back to yesterday's incident. He comes back with the bag and sees her nodding off at the table as she begins to sway as she's falling asleep. She starts to fall off the chair, but he catches her head before she can fall as he holds her face in his hands. She looks up at him and apologizes. She's sorry she just stayed up all of last night. Then she looks at the bag. This is what he wanted to give her for ruining her clothes yesterday. She stands the maid's dress. She's shocked by any chance. Is he asking her to wear a maid uniform right now? He's stunned. He can't believe his colleagues for this. He thinks there's been a mistake, but she cuts him off. She understands that he wants her to do the housework in this. Absolutely not. He then thinks about her in it, imagining what it would be like. His heart is beating fast. He begins to blush and his nose starts to bleed. She's shocked. What a pervert. She stuffs the dress back into the bag. She's going to return the dress before she leaves. She knocks on his bedroom door. She can't find him there. His room is an absolute mess. The spurs are on. She can't believe it. She begins to tidy his room. She can't believe herself. Why is she cleaning this room again? She's having such a hard time because of him. As she begins to tidy the bed, she flops down onto it. She's so tired, we then go to him. He's so embarrassed. He's on the phone with one of his colleagues. He can't believe they bought her a dress like that. They argue that he probably likes it and it's his style, and he says that they're crazy. It's not whether he likes it, whether the other person likes it. He then continues to argue with the person on the other side of the phone. As he walks out of the bathroom, he tends to look at his bed to see her snoring on his bed. His is shocked. He looks as though she's fast asleep on his bed. The person on the other phone begins speak again, but he hangs up. He gets a bit closer. He's shocked. He leaves and goes to pour himself a glass of water. Why is she sleeping in his bed at a time like this? He then gets a blanket to cover her. She's moved into a strange pose. He then sits next to her on the bed, reaching out to her. We then move on. It's the night she wakes up slowly, blinking. She wakes up. We see them in each other's arms. What is this that she's holding? She slowly opens her eyes. Oh, it's the director, is the dream. She then begins to speak to him. She confirms that he said that she drives him crazy. She wants to say that her heart fluttered too. She stayed up all night. She even waited 30 minutes for him to call, but all he did was go on about games. He's so mean. She then asked Ryoko, shall they kiss? In her dreams, she normally kisses a celebrity, but it's not often that this kind of dream comes around. She's got to make the most of what she can't do in reality. After all, she's been pent up for 30 years. He then tries to cut her off, but she pulls him in closer and begins to kiss him. His face is red as a tomato as they begin kissing each other. He's so tense, his toes and hands curling. They keep kissing. He then rolled her over and brings her into an embrace as he continues to kiss her. She opens her eyes, calls his name. He replies, "This is a dream, right? But it feels so real." She packed her face gently. Speed was so scratchy. Why does her dream hurt right now? Why is he beside her? What is he doing here? He begins to sweat. She realizes she's not dreaming, but she's confused. Why is he on her bed right now? He correct her this is his bed. She thinks back to what just happened. She's shocked she really just did that. She can't forgive him. She's so angry and embarrassed listening in on one else's dream. It's shameful. She picks up the body pillow with a girl printed on it. She's going to hit him. He tries to calm her down, but she's furious. What was he thinking of doing while she was sleeping? He then corrects her. She attacked him while she was asleep. She continues to fight him, but he keeps correcting her. This is his bed that she climbed into. She thinks back to what happened earlier. She fell asleep in his bed. But why is he lying next to her? He then begins to explain why he was lying next to her in the bed. She then gets a box cutter and points at the body pillow. She wants answers right now. She begins to cut it. As he doesn't reply, he lay next to her because she looked pretty while she was sleeping. He just dozed off while looking at her sleeping. He doesn't really know what happened after that. He's blushing. So hard. What did he just say? We then hear a beeping of the front door. His sister enters. She's calling out to him to take the basket of fruits that she's brought. She's come to visit him as he's injured, and he asks if it's the same sister that is trying to force him to get married. The scary one. From last time, he then asked her to be quiet and hide herself so she doesn't get caught, because if they find out that she's been here the whole time, we'll end up in a church tomorrow, walking down an aisle together before leaving. He says what they were talking about just now. I finish the conversation later. He closes the door and leaves her there, staring at blankly. Hey sister hands over the fruit basket that Mum made. She doesn't understand why Mum is being so nice to Man. That's unmarried. They begin to fight again as they're both unmarried. She then points out that he's walking around just fine for someone that sick. He points out that it's his wrist that's broken, not his foot. He then keeps looking back towards his room. His sister pointed out, why is he looking towards his room? He tells her to leave. She then asked, what's wrong with his face? He doesn't understand. She points out that his lips are all swollen. She then pulls out her compact mirror and points out they look like swollen lips that have been kissed. He drops the fruit basket fruit rolling everywhere on the floor. What is she saying? She didn't kiss anyone. Nanny looks through the crack in the door. He is such a bad liar, she begins to sweat. His older sister begins to laugh at him. Is he crazy? Of course he's not kissed anyone. He's not got a girl to kiss. He was probably just playing with the bottle and drinking it too hard, like when he was young, as she is, putting the other bag down on the table. The phone begins to ring. She picks it up. We snatches it from her. He claims that it's one of his phones, but she points out the actor that plastered on the screen background. She then looks down and sees a bag. Looks like a lady is... She sniffed the bag. She's sure there's a woman in the house. Both of them shiver. She says that this place smells of a woman. Nani is scared. She begins to tremble. She backed up into the bathroom and she looked at herself in the mirror. Her lips are all puffy and her hair is all messy. Her skin, is it an irritated from where his beard rubbed against her face? She was like this the whole time. It's definitely a face that's been kissed. We then go back to his sister, who is searching and sniffing. She's sure there's a woman in the house. But he claims that she's delusional and she needs to go to a hospital. He snatches the bag from her and says these bags look like they're exclusively for women as he wears it. She tells him to not be ridiculous. It can't be his. He says it is. He carries it to work. They continue to fight. She's sure they can't be a new woman, and she asked, what's the name of the cleaning lady? He tell her it's Go Nanhi. She then confirms with him that they couldn't be a lady at his house at this time of night. He confirms of course not. She then goes back through everything that the phone in the bag is. His sighing, she says that his preferences are so feminine, there's no chance of him getting married. He's confused. She's going. She then points to the fruit basket and tell them to put them in the fridge so they don't rot. As he begins to pick up the basket, she dashes into his house further. He really doesn't know how to lie. And he glanced at the room strangely before. So she runs into the room. Nanhi. Who is that? It's so noisy. What's going on out there? She's worried she didn't lock the bathroom door. She goes to reach for it, but then suddenly busts open. The sister dances. Is the second time seeing her like this. Nanny feels dizzy and faints again. The sister of shocked. What happened again? She can't believe that this is the second time she's met her. And the second time she's fainted. We then go to the kitchen where they're making ramen. She can't believe she fainted again after not eating enough. He's holding a screwdriver in his hand and she asked him why, and he says it's how he opened the door to save her from the crazy bee. Is that his sister? He then asked her about her phone wallpaper and the actor that's plastered on it. She asked him who is he to call that celebrity a punk. His biggest problem is how bad he isn't lying. The sister finishes the phone calls and begins talking to them and asks how far have they gone. They both stammer, asking her what nonsense she's talking about. They've done nothing but chaos. He looks at her stuff, and she's even worse at lying, sister. Then looks at her and says, there's no getting out of this. Is she going to try and avoid responsibility after kissing her brother or making his lips look like that? She's trying to set up a date for when the parents need to meet. He then hits his sister over the head. He drags her outside and tells Nanhi to wait a bit. His older sister is putting ice pack on her head. She's so mad she feels dizzy. How could he hit his older sister like that? He knows what's going to happen. She's going to report what she saw back to Mom. He then says that she won't even believe him when he says they're not in that kind of relationship. She then argues back that they kissed. So how could you say there's nothing between them? to his sister, then goes on about how she has evidence. She's going to report it back to Mom and take care of everything for the newlyweds. He then raises his hand, and she asked what he's going to do. He's debating whether he should knock her out again or not. He's not used the phone from her hand and decides to give her a once-in-a-lifetime offer. She has to hear him out first before calling Mom. She looks back at him. What trick is he trying to pull? Nanhee looks around the door. It's been 30 minutes. Why are they still standing there and talking? It's been so long, she thinks back to what happened in the kitchen earlier. A meeting between the parents. It's too soon. All they did was kiss. Then suddenly the door burst open. He comes through. Weird. I'm talking. She then grabs him and dashes to the side, holding him. She asked if his sister is gone. He confirms that she left looking to the side. She asked what happens now. He says from now on, his big sister won't approach her anymore and won't tell his mom what she saw. She's shocked, so I had to take responsibility, and she's not going to be forced to marry him. He correct her, yes, for 1 month. She's confused for 1 month. Yes, he confirmed. He bought them 1 month of time. He did wage or something quite big for this, but in the meantime, she won't interfere. He begins a sentence, so in the meantime, he wants to say date. But she says run away. They look into each other's eyes. He's confused. Did she just say run away to where she looks at him blankly? Well, a small temple study room. It's up to him. He calls your name and he's shocked she wants to run away after making his lips look like this, pointing at his plump lips. She argues that she kissed him when she was asleep. If she was in her right mind, she never would have. He then argues. He was in his right mind. He can't pretend nothing happened. Either way, his sister won't believe that they're not dating, so he wants to go on an official date without interference with her romantically. They both stand there blushing. No one's saying anything. He then cuts in and tells her to think about it, and if she needs a few days to think about it before going on an official date with him, but she cuts him off and tells him to wear a suit and put his contacts in and shave, and she'll meet him. Actually, don't wear a suit. It will be uncomfortable with his cast. She runs out the door screaming goodbye. What did she just blew it out? She's blushing on the other side of the door. Nanhee is back home and her mom walks into her room and asks her, what's happening? Her room is an absolute pigsty. She claims she's just cleaning out her closet. Her mom then asks at 1 a.m. and tells her it's late to go to sleep. Her mom then closes the door and leaves and thinks her daughter always cleans when she's stressed. So she must be having a hard time at the moment. Nanhee looks at her clothes. She has nothing to wear. She's 30 years old. It's her first time she's ever been asked out on a date. She thinks about herself. Is she not in her right mind? Lying down on her bed, she thinks she's been disappointed by this guy so many times before. Yet when he asked her out on a date, her answer seemed so prepared, like she was waiting for it. She's so tired, and she hasn't even done anything yet. Her phone then begins to ring. It's him, because her name. And asked if she's not sleeping. She says no. She was looking for something and asked what he was doing. He said he was watching a drama. She's shocked. He's watching a drama. He then goes on to talk about their date tomorrow. She then stammers, is the date canceled tomorrow? He's too stunned his eardrums hurt from her screaming over the phone. He said no. It's not canceled, but he was going to ask if she wanted to do anything in particular. Tomorrow. She's awkward. She doesn't reply. He then asked if she likes watching movies. She says yes. That's great. And goodbye. And then hangs up. She's so embarrassed that she really acts that desperate. What's wrong with her? She thinks back to herself. She's all stressed and pent up, and yet he's all chill. And watching a K-drama, he looks at the list. Suit, glasses, shave. The suit will be tough. He then goes back to watching his drama. He's watching the drama that has the actor that was on her phone background. He's studying him. Who is he and what is she like? He then has the doorbell go. He opens it to see her there. Dressed a nice light cream coat. He's dressed nicely in a shirt and a blue jumper. He begins to blush. He looks at her. They're both very awkward. She said she couldn't open the door because the password wouldn't work, explains that you changed the password because of his sister. He then asked her if she comes in, if she would like to have a drink. She said she'll get it. She thinks herself. She comes here every day yet. Today, it's awkward. As she takes off her coat, he stares at her. He is stunned. She just tells him that water is fine and then begins to ask him about the movie. What time is it? What they watching? He then turns back to her and says that he ordered chicken and pizza and they'll be delivered soon. He then asked what genre film she likes. Does she like animations? She tells him that she's not really watched a lot of animations, but she's fine with anything. He then brags about how he has 30,000 films and she can choose anything she wants. He's very proud of his setup. She's annoyed. They're not going to the movies right now. They're just staying home. He's so excited, though, as she hasn't seen a lot of animation films. He has a ton that he would recommend. How about watching just 10 films today? She is too stunned to speak. What is she got herself into? We are back home with Nanhee's mom. She's on her phone trying to call her daughter. She can't get through to her. Her new coat is missing. We then go back to the movie. They've eaten all the food. She was hoping the date would be going to the movies or to a nice restaurant or to a cafe, anything. She says it's not bad being in the home theater. But what was the point in dressing up like this to just stay at home? She's gloomy. She keeps thinking to self, when do they finish watching his movies? She reaches for more popcorn, but he reaches out for a hand holding her head. He calls her name, stuttering to speak because her hand tightly. She begins to blush. She thinks that, this is why he wanted to watch the movies with the light off. He's so sneaky. As she gets into the moment, as flashing, suddenly they both flinch. His older sister is hiding behind the sofa. She didn't want to disturb them, but she wants her brother to sign the contract they discussed yesterday. This scares Nanhee, and she screams. Then he asked her how the hell she got in when he changed the passcode, but she argues back to him that she probably knows him better than anyone else. Nanhee, then I asked if she works and lives in the building too, and he just replies, unfortunately, she continues to whisper to him that she thought she was going to leave them alone for 1 month. Why is he signing a contract? Then the older sister turns to her calling her name, telling her to call her sister and ask if the two of them are officially going out. This annoys him so much, and he tells her to let go. And if she breaches the contract, she has to pay 10 times the amount. So to leave her alone, she begins to run away from the siblings, waiting for them to finish their business. We're down in the sister's office, and we see some of her colleagues walking in there here on a Sunday to watch the web conference. But suddenly they spot Ryoko and ask her who is behind her. But before she can reply, he pushes her away. She calls back to her colleagues saying she'll buy them lunch once she's finished with her brother. They confirm all that's her brother. Then she goes into the coffee room and realizes it's the same as the other floor. She sees a little coffee spill on the floor and bends down to wipe it. Then she overhears voices talking about Ryoko. They talk about how he's never had a girlfriend and how his older sister is always trying to set him up a blind date with a married woman in the company. But they both can't believe how handsome and competent. One of the ladies is not too sure if he's that competent, but the other one correct, and says he is the owner of the largest gaming company in the country. She stands by this news and points out he's probably making a lot of money. She puts down her coffee, then says she should be set up on a blind date with him. The other colleague tries to tell her not to do it. As the first day he went on, he wore sweatpants and just talked about programming languages for 6 hours. Besides, she asked if she's not seeing someone already, but she correct and says no. They broke up, and he gave her a $10,000 Hermes bag, and she continues to brag. That is better. He's never dated anyone. Is that why he's easier to train? And it's her birthday soon coming up. She'll probably be able to trick him into buying her a foreign car. Suddenly there's a scary voice that says, "What is this lunatic talking about?" This stands them both. Then she springs up from under the counter, asking the two ladies, what on earth are they talking about? And then she corrects both of them, saying that he is her boyfriend. One of the ladies then grabs a chunk of Nanhee hair and asked what she just said, asked her to call her a lunatic again. Then she attacks back and also grabs her hair. They start fighting, shouting at each other, both to let go. Then Mrs. Jang walks in, asking Nanhee why she's here. Then the other lady in the red starts shouting, saying, "Let go." And who is that old woman? The other colleague corrector. She owns the building. She is the mother of the boss. This shocked her. We go back to the siblings. They've now signed the contract, saying they're both keep their promise. She has to shake hands, but he says to stop it and he's never going to ask her for help on his date and just leave them alone. Then suddenly the door opened into him. It is Mom. They're asking, what brings her here? Nanny is shocked by the state of the sister's office, just as messy. Mom interrupts everyone and asks what's happening. Why are the lights on? And why is everyone here? The siblings quickly button and say they're here to pay back money to each other. The mom then, is okay. You two are here for money, but why is Nanny here? The sister then says she was going to give her some clothes, but Mom is still confused why she overheard someone screaming about someone being their boyfriend. They stand for siblings. He asked, what did she say, that they look around for her? They couldn't see her. They turn around and suddenly receive the office sparkling. She's satisfied. She cleaned the whole office. The mom is so surprised. She tells Daoko to tell Nanhee to come to her office tomorrow. Her secretary will arrange it, and that it's a business matter, so he doesn't have to attend. She then walked away. The couple are back in the elevator together. He then tells her about her meeting tomorrow, and she's spiraling, thinking about if she's going to fire her for cleaning or for fighting another colleague. He then starts asking her about what happened and what she said, but she's so embarrassed she turns away, flushed. Decide closer to her and correct her. Next time she should call him a geek instead. We then see the mom and sister having lunch together. She confirms that her son and the cleaner are having a relationship and tells her daughter to not beat around the bush and tell her the truth. Nanny is outside of her home. She's so embarrassed she can't believe after one date, she called a man her boyfriend. She thought with someone that Mom caught her. How could she do such a thing? She thinks she's gone crazy, then suddenly her mom opens the gate holding a fish, and she needs to take off the new coat and come inside quietly. They went inside. Together, she'd surprised Mom is not asleep yet. We see Daoko packing up his body pillow into a box, saying he's sorry, and puts her in the cupboard and tells her he can't see multiple people at once, but she's not replied to his text. I hope she's made it home safely. Anything Spectre today. And I satisfied, face after cleaning it, makes him chuckle. He then stresses, there's no reply. Nothing happened. No text. No news. Then suddenly his findings, she can't come in tomorrow. He's disappointed. We go to the next day. We see her reading a card that says, Cleaning Business Academy. She's in a meeting with Mom. They're talking about the company is the first time she's heard of it. She then tells her, remember, she told her that she was a cleaning lady before this is a cleaning company, and says, if she is. Wanting a career in cleaning, she can help her, as she thought she was quite talented yesterday. Just if she's interested, we will go back to him. He's trying to call her, but her phone is off. His colleagues are calling. The director telling. In the meeting is about to start the concern for him. He doesn't look all right. He's walking into walls. He's a mess. Waiting for her reply. She has finished a meeting and she goes down to his apartment. She don't know how she made her way here. She checks herself in the mirror before going in, putting in his password. She calls his name as she gently walks in. She walks to the computer, set up. He left it on. She's shocked. Well, then go back to him. He's still staggering around in a silent mode as he goes through the front door. He notices a pair of shoes. He's shocked she's in his house. He walked in to find her on the computer. Surprised the same. She calls his name and tell him to wait a moment because he's about to level up. She's talking enthusiastically about the game. Ask him why he never told her that she could play it on the computer too. It's a lot more fun on a big screen. He gets closer to her and spins the chair around, planting a kiss on her lips, stopping her from talking. Lips still locked together in front of the computer, she begins to blush as he pulls away. He starts talking. He thought she dumped him after the first date. He said that his sister told him he was too geeky, so he got dumped after his first date. But he's so happy to see her here, in his house, and playing a game. It makes us so lovable. They both blush, looking endearingly into each other's eyes. Heart beating fast, they get closer. She gets ready for another kiss. Ha ha ha, it's gonna burst. Suddenly, he's shocked. She's leveled up so much in 7 or 8 hours. She stands left with lips puckering, flashed. She's a bit embarrassed. When did that happen? Looking at the desk she's left are messy. She doesn't understand when this happened. It was daytime, when she was here. He corrected, it's 10 p.m. right now. She thought only 2 hours had passed. She's supposed to be home. He laughs, she's so cute in the car. He then asked about meeting his mom earlier today. She explained that his mom gave her an offer. It wasn't expecting to explains that she introduced her to her cleaning business academy. She wanted to help her. He then says his mom is super picky about who she trains personally. So she must really like her, and she must be very talented. He noticed that she saw her talent after she cleaned his sister's office. She's confused. No one has ever told her that, cleaning as a talent. He goes on how she looked like a high-level player when it came to cleaning. And then how happy she looked once it was done washing again. She looks at him. Glasses, sweatpants, unshaven beard, and messy hair. He still looks handsome looking into each other's eyes and blushing. They feel a tingle. They get closer and closer. Then suddenly the taxi man calls out, telling them that they hear the status of both of me. Jump away from each other. She starts saying that that's her house over there, and the woman outside is her mom. She's done, and she doesn't want to get out the car. She asked a taxi driver to go drive away. It's a little later at night. She's tiptoeing into the house, but her mom flicked the switch on and asked her if she's just getting in. She says, yeah, she was just studying in the library, and she's trying to be quiet. Not to wake her up, her mom then says she thought she saw her in a taxi earlier, but it zoomed off. She swore it was her, and there was some guy next to her. She then begins to stutter, saying, a taxi. A guy. No way. And she came back from the library and how she needs to go to sleep. Come on, things back. That she must say, it was dark and only quick, but her daughter has been acting strange these days. Nanhee gets into her room and slams down against the door, a heart pounding. She can't believe she ran into Mom in that exact moment. If a man catches her dating right now in this situation, she poses. She's dating someone right now. It makes her so happy. Inspector Today's kiss and how he called her lovable. She flops down onto her bed, happy and blushing. She thinks how this is her first kiss, not count in the one she accidentally did in her sleep. She go to the bathroom and see if she's got oil on her face. She didn't realize how she looks. She's been playing games all day. She's so embarrassed. How could this be lovable? She's a mess. She then went back up to Mrs. Jang and said she was going to accept her offer to work for her. She wants her that there will be a lot of studying to do, but she says she's determined to do this. She leaves the office. She doesn't know what she's got herself into, but she's got this. She's going to do it within go back into the office and see that the sister was hiding behind the sofa, saying she had to hide. The mom points out that she didn't have to hide, but she feels guilty for breaking the non-disclosure agreement already. She's worried that she's already going to put her precious daughter-in-law candidate into this, and if she's going to push her too hard, she might lose her. But the mom wants to know what kind of person she is, so she's happy with a go back to the hospital. He's finally got his cast off. He's free. She claps. He's all better now. He then asked her if she wants to go on a second date to celebrate getting his cast taken off like they promised last night, and asked her where she wants to go. This makes a heart throb. She then tells them the place she wants to go is a supermarket. He's speechless there in the supermarket. It's even in the basement of the building. She wanted to go on a supermarket date. They get a car and start pushing it around, then everyone starts staring at them, thinking he's some sort of celebrity. He's so handsome. Then we see the two colleagues that she previously had a fight with. They're also at the supermarket. The brunette one looks over, sees them smiling at each other. She looks annoyed. The brunette lady is still looking over, well, the ginger one. Talk to her about buying snacks for the meeting. The brunette has a black cloud brewing around her stares and into the distance of the couple. The couple are so happy, everyone's staring at them. She's grinning ear to ear. We go back to the colleagues, and the ginger one asked her what she was staring at, but she tries to push the other colleague away and thinks back to the last time she saw that lady and thinks, how did she make a guy like him hers? She's annoyed. The couple walks past the dumpling stand, and the lady working on the counter says that the newlyweds should try the new dumplings. She blushes. She's not a new bride, and they don't have plans on getting married yet. He just walked over and asked if it's shrimp. And she says, yes, it is. Then you see if a dumpling. He smiles and says it looks good as he eats at the lady working, as shocked. She gives him all of them to eat. Then the other ladies from another stand comes along to give him food, to bumping Nanhee out of the way. Then suddenly all the workers are surrounding him, asking him to try their samples and complimenting him on his locks. She grabs him and put them away. She asked it if it's always like that when he comes to the supermarket, but he just tells her it's his first time, he's never done grocery shopping before. Then another man is pushing some boxes behind her, is about to bump into her, but he pulls her out of the way into his arms. She's blushing. She's in his embrace. She thinks heart is going to explode. This is the first time she feels like she's been protected in 30 years. He's embarrassed people are watching, but she doesn't want him to remove his hand. She wants a bit more. Then suddenly the brunette lady from his sister's office walks over, confirming that he is her boss's brother, smiling as she talks to him. Nan, he thanks back. She knows this woman, how she talked about him, and then they had a fight. He says he doesn't remember who she is. She brings out her wallet and paws out of card and apologizes for how she acted that day. She was truly out of line. He then asked Nanny what happened, but she just tells nothing happened, the brunette lady, but in and says it's the first time she met him. That day, the brunette lady then goes on to talk about how he seemed so nice and how she fell for him at first sight. And she joked around with her boss to introduce them to each other, and there was a bit of a misunderstanding. And it's such a pity that he's already seeing someone. She hands over her business card and introduces herself to him. She hands out the card, but Nanny snatches it away. They're both a bit speechless. She tears it up. Ryoko then says to the worker that she's a little bit rude. They've just met. And she's already critiquing his life and who he picks a partner without even knowing them. And that she should actually apologize to his girlfriend, and that they don't want to be disturbed as they're on a date. The brunette face turns. What's happening? Manhwa is so happy. Nanhee compliments Ryoko. Oh, how he handling her, a brunette, is shocked. She apologizes. She didn't realize she was being rude. Again, she'll leave since she's finished introducing herself. We go back to the couple she's touched. She thinks she's fallen for him again, slightly drooling. He's thinking she's a bad person. He can't believe she would say that kind of thing in front of them. Then suddenly, lost in a start, he gets pulled and she plants a kiss on his cheeks. She looks at him and calls his name and tells him that she likes him a lot. He's a little bit embarrassed as they're out in public, but she's not embarrassed at all. She said she'll shout right here, but he covers her mouth before she can do anything more. He's flushed. He doesn't get it. She likes him a lot, but be quiet. They should just go calm down and have some lunch. She then takes his hand and tells him she just wants to have a day at his place today, and they can make lunch together. And he can just teach her how to play games. He stand. Is she serious about what she just said? Of course she is. He starts talking quickly. He thought she wanted to go outside for the next day. So we searched up some nice restaurants and had a bunch of stuff planned before she changes her mind. He grabs her and runs away with her in his arms, saying, "Let's go." We, then seeing another, all his older sister and mom are there with a secretary. They went through all the events of what happened. They've been following them, seeing what they're up to. They're shocked her son, who has never looked at a woman before, has only been interested in games and 2D characters, is now acting like a normal man, and he's dating their mom and sister, start dancing there. So happy the sister then says they should. Thank Nanhee. But her mom reminds her to not overdo it or she might scare her away. We go to the next day. We see in the office the brunette lady is walking in, scanning her card. As she walks into the office, she's annoyed where all the cleaning lady is hanging out on her floor. The other colleague called the brunette lady over, saying that she needs to hurry up. She walks past a cleaner, but before she goes into the conference, she calls over the cleaner because her hoovering is too loud. And even with the door closed, there would be too much noise as she taps the cleaner on the shoulder. They catch eyes. Nanhee looks at the lady with a brunette hair. The colleague is talking to the lady with a brunette hair, but she's not listening. She's fuming. She can't believe that she's a cleaning lady. Nanhee is all finished. Everything is sparkling around her. She's a little bit annoyed that she has to clean the 8th floor because that's the floor that lady works on, but the boss gave her orders, so she'll do it. She leaves the bathroom and sees the lady again. The lady with the brunette hair crosses her arms and asked if she will be in charge of cleaning this floor, and if she is. She accidentally spilled some coffee in the lobby, so if she could just clean it up, but Nanny. with a mop. And I tells her that she's finished for the day and she can lend her them up so she can clean and dry it. And she says goodbye. Brunette lady gets angry, screaming at her. Who are you telling to mop? I don't care if you're on or off duty, mop. It isn't that what you people do. That's what you're paid for, as she chucks them up down on the floor. Nanhee looks over to the brunette lady again, telling her again that she's finished. So if she wants the coffee to be cleaned up, she will clean it tomorrow morning, or she can clean it up, as it's the mess she made. She begins to push her things away. Brunette lady is so angry she pulls out her phone and begins to tap. She's calling someone. She's telling the person on the phone to come up to the 8th floor right away. Ryoko is in the office. All of his colleagues are surprised. Is that really the director? If we just take your glasses off and dress up what we look like, that to the college. Mama between themselves, is he dating? Why does he look so different? Oh, he's thinking about is her. He wants to go see her. We go back to her. She's thinking, what should she do? The manager and the boss. Mrs. Jeng came to the 8th floor. She began to explain that the cleaning lady told her to clean it up herself. Mrs. Jeng is annoyed. We don't call our employees cleaning ladies, and asked the brunette lady why her employee has to clean up the coffee she spilled after she clocked out. She's incapable of cleaning it herself. She then takes them up and says if she's incapable of doing something as simple as this, she'll do it. Both the manager and Nanhee try to jump in and do it for her. The brunette lady says, quietly, she'll do it. She then has them up back to the brunette lady and tells her good, and she needs to make sure to wash and dry them up after she use it. Nanhee, he's so happy. She has so much respect. We see Ryoko was round the corner, watch all of this. As soon as everyone leaves, the brunette lady chucked the mop on the floor. She's huffing and puffing. She's so mad, Nanny gets a text asking if she'd want to meet on the roof after work. Cheerfully, she says tell colleagues that she'll be leaving and she'll see them tomorrow. But she's confused why they're being so cold. She then texts him back saying that she's in the elevator and she'll meet him on the roof. As soon as he reads the text, he grabs his coat and begins to leave and tells them to only call him if there is emergency. The elevator doors open. She's there inside. It's so busy he can't get in. There's too many people inside, so he walked out of the elevator, but she suddenly decides that she's going to get off for them to hold the elevator. As she tries to swim through the people, the elevator's door closes. She says to him, it's only been a day, but she's missed him so much. Holding a gently hit pulls her in for a big hug. He says he misses her too, and it's only been a day. She then points out that they probably shouldn't do this here, as it's the lobby to his office. He then looks and sees all of his colleagues agape, watching them. He then pulled her along. She asked where they going. Are they going to the rooftop corrector? No, they're going home once they're inside. He asked if he wants a drink. Just takes her off guard. She then tells her that he saw her today at work, and he saw the incident. He saw everything. He asked if everything is really all right. She explains it's all fine, and his mother worked it all out, and she seriously respects his mother. She then blurts out that she could seriously consider marriage if she was to be her mother-in-law. She's so embarrassed that she then goes to grab the coffee from the cupboard. But she's a bit too short, so he helps her and puts it in her hands. She thanks him. He's pressed that behind her. The heart beating fast, he then whispers in her ear, asking her if she wants to sleep over. She looks at him. Does she want to sleep over? They're both blushing. The drawing closer, they start to kiss. Pulling each other closer, she drops the coffee. They continue to smooch. She thinks she's absolutely gonna melt from his kisses, both flushed, as he gently plants kisses all over her, gently sliding his hand under her t-shirt. She pushes him away and says, to wait. He apologizes. He thinks he was in a rush. She says it's okay. She liked it, but she'll be back real soon. She picks up a bag and runs away. He thinks of himself. Was he too hasty? Did he start with her? What did he do? He can't believe he made her leave. She's in the elevator thinking she can't believe her underwear and bra don't match. Of all days, this is the wrong day for this. She's thinking about what style she should go for a cute, innocent, sexy. She's flushed. She also forgot to shave her armpits and legs. She picked up some shaving cream. She thinks about everything she should do. There's too much on her list. We go back to him. He's alone having a teddy on his bed. It's been 3 hours. He can't believe he made a runaway because he acted like a beast. The doorbell then goes. He springs up from bed. It's her. She's carrying some bags. They meet at the front door before she comes in. He tells her to wait. He has something to tell her.